Hi, Crafty Crystal here. I am back with the simplest of the three models of the hand warmer bags that I'm making. Hand warmer means that you can put your hands in it, obviously, wear it on your belt, but it's also a purse or a bag. It has the open pocket here, it's nice and deep, and if you look in here, this particular model has inside access to the purse from where you put your hands at. The other two models just have openings on the front and back, none on the inside. As you can see, this one's clear. It's a really pretty pattern and a pretty simple one. It doesn't take a long time to make. I have 22 rows here, and it took me around 7 minutes a row to make them. I spent about less than an hour making and attaching the two belt loops, and probably about 45 minutes on the belt. So this is one that you could do in 1 day, 2 days tops. It doesn't take too long, and since it only takes about 5 ounces of yarn, it's not too expensive to make. So let's get started on this. For this one, I am using a Bernat Super Value. It's a 7-ounce skein, 4-ply worsted. Suggested use an H hook, and that's really what I'm most comfortable with, is an H hook. It's got 426 yards, and it'll make the purse easily. It might even have some left over. The last purse I did was a little bit bulkier. It was a 1 pound, and it only used a little less than half the skein. So we'll see how this one does. I'm going to start this in 2 ways. The first way is the way you might be doing it, which is you start with a simple chain, and you want to make it as long as you want your purse. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then you chain up 3, go around the back of the chain, pull up a loop, go down into the little hump on the back here. This little hump right here. Pull up a loop, and then you pull up a loop, you pull up a loop. That's a double. That's a connected double, actually, to start with. Now you're going to go, see this top bar here that you just made? And see that you have a hole here behind the post and between the front and back of this bar. You're going to go right in through that, into that hole. That's your single wrap for your double. You go back into the bump in the bottom, and then you go through 2 and through 2, and you have another connected double. Now you go right in back of this here. You're going to be going, actually what you're going to be doing, if you look at it, actually, you'll be going under these top 2 stitches, because under those top 2 stitches is your cross piece. And you have 2 strands on the front cross piece, the front one and a back one. And then you have your post. That's the anatomy of this stitch. You have your top loop. You have the first loop that you made. You go through the bottom and bring up the second loop. Come through 2 loops. You come through 2 loops. And you end up with this post here. And that little hole there right under your 2 top loops. And that's where you want to go. So you go under your 2 top loops. Just like that. And that's your wrap. Go through the bottom bump. That's going through your base stitch. Pull up 2 stitches. Pull up 2 stitches. And just like that. So you'll be doing connected doubles, connected in this fashion all the way across. And that's what it looks like. You have this lovely cable-y look to it. Okay? Now you do that for the length you want your purse. I want to use, I would start with 23 to 24 inches. And if you need it longer, you can always add rows of single crochet on the inside. In fact, because this is my, will be the top edge of either the inside or the outside, I'll be putting layers on this too. Either more single crochet and a slip stitch or just a slip stitch. So you go on that way, and I want to show you how I'm going to do it. I've never tried this before, so I decided it was worth a shot. I'm going to do a connected double foundation chain. There's a mouthful for you. So I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, and one more for the foundation, because that's how you do built-on foundation chains. I'm going to go around my chain, and I'm going to go through these 2 loops down here of my base chain. Come on, fellas. Be nice. That's one, and that's one. And I'm going to pull my chain up, my bottom up here. Get it out of the way. Okay. Now, this bottom piece here belongs to this first post. So I can't use that one. I have to make another one. This is going to be the piece for my next stitch. I go through 2 and through 2, and now this is the base of my bottom chain. This is the base of the stitch. You have the bottom of the stitch, and you have the top of the stitch. Okay? Now, the anatomy of this is just like the others. This little crisscross thing here, that's going to end up being your stitch that you come out of every time, that you pull out from the back. So you want to come above that, and that's right below your stitch up here. So you go into this, actually go just back up into the stitch you just did right there. And that's your loop for your double. Now you need to come down here right down there. I've got a piece of my last stitch in there. There we go. And pull out a stitch. This is the foundation for my new chain, for my new stitch. I'm going to pull a loop through that foundation chain, and then through 2 and through 2. Go back under these top 2 stitches here, top 2 loops, pull up a loop. Let me show you the anatomy of this. Here, I'll back up a minute. And you see these 2 loops? These are the last 2 loops you came through. You remember you come through 2 and then come through 2? This is the first 2 loops you came through. So the very next thing below them is your base loop. And sometimes it doesn't look like it, so it really helps. If you look at this good, this one, no matter what it looks like, that's your base chain. So I go through here, and we're going to come through that loop. Both sides of it. Pull up a loop, pull up a loop, I just made my base chain and pulled a loop through my base chain. And now, completing my double. Go back through here, pull out a loop, come to this stitch right below where these last two are. The last two loops you came through, that stitch right below it, that is your base. The last base, I should say. And you make a new base by pulling out a loop, come through that base chain, and through two, and through two. Okay, let's see if I can get a little speed on this. This is kind of a challenge, making a fancy stitch out of a base chain. But the basic fundamentals of it are the same. You need to just go down, do whatever you're going to do for your stitch. You find your last two loops here because it is a double based stitch, and the one below it is your last base chain. You pull your new base chain out, pull a loop through it, and complete your stitch. Okay. Now, when you do this, you're going to find that your top stitches end up a lot bigger than your bottom stitches. Let's face it, you're bending your hook down to the bottom to bring up a loop. You're always going to end up pulling these out. So what you do is hold on to your base chain on both sides, and you want to just tug, kind of like pedaling a bicycle. You know how you hold on to the two ends of a pedals on a bicycle and go around? Okay, just like that. And what you're doing, you push them and tug them and push them and tug them. And what you're doing is you're forcing these guys down here to borrow thread from here, which borrows thread from here, and you end up with your bottoms and your tops the same size. And then you don't have this funny little happy smile when you're done. You have a nice straight piece. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and I don't like the way that did that. I'm going to back up and go actually through the chain to start this first one, and then go on the way I showed you. And I'll meet you when I get to 23, 24 inches. Okay? Whichever way you get there, we'll meet at the end. Now I've come down to my the end of my double connected foundation chain. You can see I've got a little problem here. The way the end goes. See how slanted it is? So I worked out a way to finish my very last stitch. I'm going to go in the top like normal. And I'm going to go above the foundation chain. See right here where the bottom of my cable is? I'm going to go behind that and bring up a loop. Then I'm going to go into my last base chain and pull up a loop. It's my current base. Pull up the chain out of it. And I'm going to go through 2 loops. And I'm going to go through all 3 loops. And that gives me a much straighter side. I don't have this long slant here. Like that. And I didn't make a big gap. I needed to double connect this last one because when I tried just pulling out like an extra chain, I had a big hole here. So now, whether you got here by making a chain and then putting your connected double on it, or whether you tried it like me and did it a connected foundation chain, we're going to go up to our next level. And before I do that, I want to talk to you about the length of what you're doing. Okay? So what we have here, on the inside of the purse, you're going to have your you're going to have the back of your hand warmer. And then your hand warmer is going to come around like this. Want this down kind of low because you're going to put layers on this. And then it's going to come down and it's going to come back up and it's going to connect here. So you want to check the size you want of your hand warmer. So I guess the best way to do that would be that way. Bottom of my hand warmer. Okay. I want it to be comfortable enough I can fit my hand in there. I need to come back up where I want my top at. And that is about how deep I want my purse. I want my purse much deeper on this than on the other pouch types. So I'm going to check that again. Like I said, only roughly, because look what could happen. Let's suppose you made it too short. If you made it too short, get out of there, Charlie. So that you needed it like this to make your purse, okay? Then you can always add, you could add single stitches, rows of single stitches if you needed to, all the way around here. The inside you have from just below the outside of the purse here, all the way around to where you have your inside. So you don't have to worry about it's too short, too long. I don't think will show up that much, and too long you could just make your inside pouch a little higher instead of lower. You really do have plenty of leeway. Okay, now let's start on the other side. Okay, here's where I ended my last row. I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, and come into one of these back hoops. The back humps of the chain I just came up. Just like that. And I'm going to go down into my top loop. Wait a minute, make sure I got the right top loop here. Yes, okay. Down into my stitch and complete my double. And then just like before, we're going to come through the top, right under your right under the loop that you just did. Back up under that, grab your stitch, come down into your next stitch, and away we go across, just like that. Much easier when you're not trying to do the foundation chain, huh? Just like that. Or go through all the little bumps on the back. Okay. I'm going to do a couple more and I'll show you how this looks on both sides. And this is reversible, so it can be used for a thick scarf, a reversible hat, part of a afghan. Just like that. Go nice and quick. Okay. Now here's the back. Here's our last cable look. And here's our new cable look. See there? And that's what it's going to keep looking like, alternately all the way up. And you want to make this as wide as you want to go across your hands. Come here. You can take any towel, piece of material, or whatever, and you figure out you want it to go from wrist to wrist, comfortably. So I figure about there. You can take that piece of material or hand towel. Use a little hand towel here that I usually crochet over. And then you can pin it, set it aside, and use it for your final width. Or once in a while, you can just stop where you're at and just kind of see if it's wide enough yet. Like this, I would say offhand, not quite wide enough yet. So work back and forth across like that. And when you get to the end here, on the other side, on every end, I want to show you something. I'll go in the one couple before here. Okay. Now, when you do double crochets, half doubles, whatever, you never go in the same one that your chain comes up in. Usually you skip that one and go to the next one, and that end post becomes your end post. We didn't do that. We chained up and we came down into the same post. So this stitch here is our last stitch, and here is the top of the chain. So we have both the stitch and the top of the chain, but we want a good strong edge. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and make a regular half double crochet. I just want to show you how to treat the end. So you come in here to the end here, grab your little hump from the top of your chain 3, and then go through your stitch like that. And you have a very nice finished edge. You don't have that bump. You don't have a big gap here because you crowded the chain 3 out. It makes it a very nice solid edge. And that's what you'll have all the way down. So that's what I want you to do when you get to the end of it. Do that one more time. You go into the top of your chain 3. Hook your hook under any part of that top one. You just need one loop. And then this is the top of your loop, right? Your stitch right here. So you want to go into that stitch, and you pull a loop both through that stitch and the top of your chain 3. And it gives you that nice solid edge. Okay? All right. Now you go back and forth. Just like that. Go on the end, chain 3, connect in your chain, come down into your first stitch, and you end it each time like that. I'm going to come back to the end. I'll show you again how to finish the side and how to finish one end and how to start one end. So I want to see you at the other end of our chain, our piece, okay? I've got my piece as wide as I want it now. I'm happy with how my hands are going to fit in the cuff, wrist to wrist. And I have one thing left to do on the side. If you look at your either side, one end is going to have your pattern ridge on it. One end will have a flat. If you turn it over, that end will have a flat, and this end will have a pattern ridge. So there's no way that you have a side of the purse that has flats on both ends for sewing it together. So we're going on one side for the last row. Last row ended with the ridge on top. So we're going to come along and we're just going to make half doubles. Half doubles are really simple. And you don't need to connect them because this is the part you're sewing together, and the sewing itself is going to hold them together. So for the half double, you just wrap, go through your base loop, and pull up a loop, 3 loops unhook, yarn over through all 3. And after what you've been going through, this is going to be so quick and easy. Yarn over and through the base, pull up a loop, pull a loop through all 3, yarn over into the base, pull up a loop, yarn over through all 3, just like that. Piece of cake. Whoops. Now I'm happy with the width, but I'm not really happy with the length. The length turned out to be a lot less than I desired. I have my cuff fixed where I'm going to want my inside loop. And I want my purse about that long, at least that deep. But I need the opening for my purse all the way up here. See that? Now what I'm going to do is I will start out with the part that's going to be up on top, on the outside. And I will do like 2 rows of half double. 2 rows of single and slip stitch. A nice strong slip stitch. Then I will have this outside edge anchored in where I want it. And then I will come to the inside, and the inside is going to need about that much more length to get the length of purse I want. And that's no problem because this is on the inside. See the way we were going to fix the purse? Like this. You have your hands in here. You have your inside opening to your purse. Your outside is going to be up here. Okay? On top. So you have from here all the way to here that you could add on. You could add that much length on if you wanted to without anybody even knowing about it. Look at that. That's, how long are you? That's about 8 inches, 8 or 9 inches that you could add if you had to. So I will add what I need to the inside edge until I have it the length I want for the depth of purse I want. And getting close. And this is going to be such a pretty purse. Very nice purse. I think everybody's going to like it. Anyone you give it to. I'll be back when I get my trim done. Because I was coming up this way on my half double, I went ahead and even though this is the inside and I was going to do that last, I decided to go ahead and try out spacing for the single crochet across the inside, because I'm thinking rows of doubles, you'd want to put 2 in each row. So that would be 2 here and 2 here and 2 here and 2 here. Doesn't work out that way. The best thing you can think of is between every ridge, you're going to have 2 stitches. You can think of it as 2 between the ridges, or you can think of it as 1 on either side of the ridges, but you're going to have 2 in each of these spaces here, all the way across. Okay, now I'm going to go work on the outside, and since I tried this and I like the way it fits, it really contains the stretch on it. And I'll be doing that more on the other side when I add even the slip stitch to make sure that the other side doesn't get stretchy. This is the outside edge of my bag, the outside edge of the purse. I went along, I had to tie on this end because I tied off on the other end, on the inside. Did one row of single crochet this way, doing 2 in each of the spaces between the ridges and 1 on each end. Then I came back in the other way and I did 1 single crochet in each single crochet, and I did them a little bit tighter than usual. This drew any unevenness in the bottom up and gave me a nice straight edge, and it's a lot tighter. You don't want that extra give in there. Now I'm going to do a slip stitch, and I'm going to do what is called a barred slip stitch. You have your feed line in front of the stitch you're going into. So for this first one, my line's already in front. I grab the yarn, pull it in front of this bar, and through the loop on my hook. Now for the next one, and the ones after, your feed yarn is behind you. So you pull it forward, go through your loop, grab your yarn, pull your loop up in front of that bar that you're holding, and through the loop on your hook. So let's grab it here, put it in there, bring it out, bring it through. Drag it up, put your hook in, bring your loop up in front of your bar, and back of your bar, through the loop on your hook. Just like that. Drag your line forward, go through your hole, bring your loop up and up. And you end up with this barred slip stitch. It's nice and strong. Here's a good edge. And it doesn't lay on the front. It stands up. This is going to be a nice ending to our front edge on the outside of our purse. Just like that. You go across the end and tie it off. And then you can add, if you don't need to add any more length, then you can just go one more row of single crochets and slip stitch, just like we did here. It can be the barred slip stitch, or it can be a regular slip stitch because it's inside, it's not showing. Or you can do like I'm going to do and add several rows of single crochet. In fact, since I'm going to add about this much, I'll probably do a row of single crochet and maybe connected half double, and then single crochet and connected half double, and then do the last couple rows single crochet. I've got a lot of space to cover, and I really don't need that all in single crochet. So I'll be back. As you can see, I added quite a few lines on the inside. I finally decided to do just plain half doubles back and forth. On the other end has my 2 singles and my barred slip stitch. And I did end with a slip stitch on this. Now comes the part of putting it together. I've taken this end, I've already started, Took my inside edge and pinned it. That's the first step. You take your inside edge and you stick it, you pin it to your back. Then this is what gives you the diameter for your hand, if you're happy with it or not. So you have your diameter, and now you want to know how far down do you want your flap, your entrance and your inside entrance into your purse. So you go in here and you feel where you'd like to have it. Want it higher like that, lower. When you're happy where it is, you come out here and you flatten your purse. And you put a pin in this side. You want the same on both sides. One last check. I'm happy where the entrance is. I'm more happy with the feel of it now. Now, bring up my outside of the purse where I want it. Check the length. I still have plenty of length in here. Okay. Now right where this meets here, we'll put a pin. So that one and that one. That's that one and that one. And my top should be the same on both sides. If it isn't, my roll was wrong. My bottoms should be the same length. Okay. I'm transferring it just to the front. I'm keeping it in the same loop. I'm going to turn it inside out, like this. Now I can do this two ways. I can have this inside out, and I can sew, not crochet, sew through this edge here, back and forth and back and forth. Or I can do a whip stitch. And what you would do, I'll start at the bottom because it's more convenient. You want to go through 2 on one side and 2 on the other. Yarn over, bring it through. Now normally you knot your end. Go through your next stitch, through your next stitch, should be this one, I guess. Put your yarn over like that, pull it through. Through your next stitch, through your next stitch, I should have just cut off a piece and shown you. Stitch, stitch, pass it over, pull it through. I'll leave that way right now. You want to do this all the way up to where your 2 pins meet. And when you turn it inside out, You have a real nice connection to the outside. It'll be right on the edge, like this. See there? It's not bending in because you didn't do like a slip stitch to both thicknesses. So this is right on the edge and right in line with the rest of your purse. Okay? Now that is one way to do it. It's a really nice way to do it. I'm going to have to turn this inside out and take my stitches off, so I'll be back. Now this is the second way you can do it. I have it pinned fairly well on this side. I've got my inside edge pinned to my edge where it belongs. I've got my top side edge pinned where it belongs. I put these two together like I did before. Pin these two stitches together. And I matched on the way down. And I have a noise. I think I'm out of pins. Okay. Now, this method, I'm going to start on the bottom in the front. Okay. I'm going to go right behind these outside stitches. Straight down. Pull up my loop. Oops. Well, I'm going to try to pull up a loop. There we go. I'm going to go right behind the next two stitches. Make sure I have both of them. And I'm incorporating both cords to really lock in my slip stitch. I could do it once more if I want, and I think I will. Pull this pin out. Put this behind these two loops. Pull that up. Now I think I can ignore the second cord. I want to do that, matching them all the way up. Go behind both of them. See what we've got going here? Like the top stitch. Now I can come in from the edge a little if I want. I can do that a second time too. I have 2 rows of slip stitch. Okay. Behind the next 2. Behind the next 2. And make sure these are good tight slip stitches. This is what's holding your purse together. Okay, now this will be the last one I'll do on this edge, going through the one that I chose to be behind it. Then I'm going to go in here, the very next stitch, and I'm going to pull my bottom cord up all the way around. And you can come back again and put a little more top stitch on. Oh my goodness, get through there. Remember to tighten every slip stitch. And you want to start on the front of your bag because you want the slip stitches going the same way on both sides. I'm getting into my edge. It's not as cut and dried. And to my last one. There. Now, before I go on to around my arm, my hand hole here, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do a slip stitch into here, and one in the next stitch, and one in the fourth stitch. Went 3 or 4 of these slip stitches in. That reinforces the pocket of your purse. Pull your slip stitch tight and go underneath. Pull your slip stitch tight. And then if you want to, you can go back into the holes your slip stitches came out of. Or you can go below them. Till you get back to the edge. I'm going through there 3 or 4 times here. Okay, now what you've done is you've made a little side trip out here to hold the edge of your bag on. Now we're going to continue on around. Remembering to tighten each slip stitch. And this will have another effect on your hand hole. In order the inside be loose and comfy, the outside needs to be a little bit tighter. This will kind of help tighten up that hand hole for you. Get about here. I want to make sure my hand will go in. Oh, that feels a lot snugger, and I've got plenty of room inside. I like that. That's working out great for me. Now, I'll put this one and the very tip of this. I go through the next stitch and through the edge. Remember, this is the part, the area where I did single crochet rows. So I don't have a finished edge to work with. Make sure you go through every one of your outside stitches, the ones that show, and into the next row underneath, all the way around. Make sure you get at least 2 stitches of the back in each slip stitch. Oops. Lost you. There we go. I'll take this out. I don't think I need it now. Okay, the next stitch. And the next stitch. Through here. Now I'm going to go right down here in the one that I connected to the front. Bring this up. And I'm going to either back up or I can go down. Come through here. Bring it back down. I want both my loops on the inside. I want my loop on the inside of here. Nice and roomy inside. I've got my full length down here. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'll take my pins. Do all my pinning on my side. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So that. Now you can come back and put another one, say in a contrasting color, from here right down here to the front. From here right down here to the front. And you could use that contrasting color in the belt loops and the belt. But principally, our purse is done. All we have to do is add a way to hang it on our belt. This is the beginning of the belt. I chained as long as I want my belt. In this case, I made it 5 feet long, nearly so. I'm going to make connected half double crochets all the way around. Now you can just do singles if you want. Do about 4 or 5 rows of singles. But this is how I'm doing it. You want to come back, wrap your yarn. No, take it back. We're doing connected, so we're going to start out connected. I want to come down the second chain from the hook, go through the back bump, pull up a loop, and go down here. Well, I can just go down to the very next one, I guess. This is half double. That'll give me 3 chains for my half double and my base. Pull through all 3. Okay. Now I'll do the lower half double for this one. The upper one, I think, raised and going through belt loops and being messed around with and everything would probably not weather as well as this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do connected back half doubles all the way down. Remember how we did these? Go through the bottom loop here. Already bottom loop. Through the bottom loop with the 3 loops on the hook. Go through the back lump. Wrap your thread. Go through all 3. You have these loops that were gathered on the hook. There's 3 of them. The top one your hook loop is coming out of, the second one, and the third one. Going through the bottom one here. There we are. Bring a loop up. That represents your wrap for a regular half double. Go through the bottom hump in the chain. There you are. Okay, now I'm going to go on down to the other end. Show you how we're going to do the other end. Okay. Now what you want in each end is a total, counting the first straight edge on the side to the first straight edge on the other side, a total of 6 connected half doubles. Now here we have our very last stitch. We're going to go through the back loop like normal. Oh, there we go. Pull up the loop to our stitch. Go back into our bottom loop here. Pull up a loop. Go back into this stitch in the end of the chain. Pull up our loop. Do it a third time on the same side of the end of the chain. Okay, that's 3 for this side. Now we're going to go over here to the other side where the 2 loops are. And we're going to pull our loop in from that side. And you want to keep the end fairly tight. It's going to be going through a lot one of these days. And there's the third one. Now this is considered the first one on this side because it's the straight one, right opposite your other straight one. You have a nice edge here. 6 stitches. And you just go on, and you're going to, on the back side, you're going through the 2 back loops, 2 left behind. And you did the front loop. You got these nice 2 back loops. Do those like that. And you end up with a real nice strong backbone. See there? Nice, even, neat backbone. If you go through just any hole, sometimes you're going to have a wide hole here, and sometimes you're going to have a narrow one. This one gives you continuity all the way down. Now on the other end, all the way back, we'll be doing the two back stitches that were left behind when we did the hump on the other side. And these back stitches are what give you a nice closed middle. They pull the hump tight so it doesn't gap. It keeps them locked up so they're nice and firm. Everything works out beautifully. I want you to look at this real carefully. This here, this is your first loop, your first stitch. And it's coming right out of here. Pardon me, right out of here. Follow this back to here. Follow this one back to here. And follow this one back to here. This is your stitch right here. What you can do on the way up is as soon as you make your first stitch, you go back and put a little piece of thread in it, and then you'll know for sure. So here's the first stitch, the one that the first stitch came off of. Okay. Turned around. Okay, I'm gonna have to get sneaky. I gotta come in this side and then come over here and catch this side. It's easier when you stick the little thread through. You just pull on it and it pops it up for you. Okay. Now, this is our 2 flat sides. So we have 2 of our 6 done already. Because you get 3 from the level up on this side, 3 from the level up on that side. That makes 6. So coming on this end, we need to add 4 more. And that's it. So we go through, make sure we come through the bottom. And this is the 3rd of this side. This is the top one of this side. The 2nd of this side, and our level one is the 3rd of this side. So we'll come right in here, pop a little slip stitch. There's our 2 ends. Okay. Now I really do recommend when you start your first one that you put a little swatch right there. It makes it a lot easier to find your place when you come back. Okay, so make your belts and come back. We'll do the loops. Are you ready to tackle your belt loops? The belt loops are very simple. They have a simple beginning. Chain 18 and do 4 rows of single crochet. That's your beginning right there. I'm sure all of you can do that. Okay, now when we get to the end, we're going to turn. I had that turned the wrong way anyway. We're going to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go down in the 2nd stitch, down in the 4th stitch, and we're going to go down right in the stitch that the chain came out of. Okay, 4 loops unhooked. That means we're working on a triple. So we go 1, 2, 3. There's our first triple. Now what we're going to do here, on the back here we have the little back bumps. We're going to go through this back bump, pull up a loop. We're going to go through this back bump and pull up a loop. And we're going to go through the next stitch over. And we've got 4 loops on the hook. So we triple out. Okay. Once more with feeling. We go through a back bump. We go through a back bump. We go through the next stitch. And back up 3 times. And again. Go through a back bump. Ooh, well. Come on, Charlie, be nice. Did that stitch too tight. There we go. Go through a bump. Go through the next stitch Next hole, right there. Now we have our original chain. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 triples, connected triples. And now we're going to go into the first back bump. And we're going to slip stitch. We're going to go into the second back bump and we're going to slip stitch. We're going to go into one of the bottom strands down here and slip stitch. Then we'll slip stitch right into the edge here. Okay. And this is our tab. This is the part that will be being attached to the purse right here. Okay. Now, you take your band and you turn it like this so it meets each other. And you go right in this corner. It's going to be sewn together anyway, so you might as well ignore having more little bits and pieces than you need to weave in. Chain 4. Go into a back bump. Go into a back bump. Oh, get in there. Whew. Go into the same base that the chain came out of. And back off 2 at a time. And again, let it go in. I really split that one. I'm going to go into another loop. Oh, don't you love it when yarn cooperates with you? Okay. You go into the first hole. Back up 3. Pardon me, second hole. I'm going to go down again. The next hole. It's the third one. And once again, and the fourth one. And this time we're slip stitching down. We went 3 slip stitches instead of two pull-ups. We went 3. So there's 1. There's 1. And there's 1. Slip stitch right into this edge. Okay, now we have our 2 tabs. We have our loop, belt loop. Very important at this point. You want 18 to 24 inches of thread. Let's see how many I have here. Okay, that's about 24 inches. That's so you don't short yourself. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull this through. Drop my hook. You can slip stitch these together instead of crocheting. Instead of sewing. I'm going to do the sewing this time. I've already attached one of my tags. Okay. So you can tell the base. You can tell the base right there. And see the base right there. See the larger holes? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come through this side of the base and out through this side of the base. Just like that. Through and through. I want to put these two corners together right here. Okay. Now it's just a matter of, I'm going to come up to the third row. I can feel by the tip of my needle when I'm matching the hole in back with in front. If you need to, turn it and look. Like that. There we go. Whoops. Don't you wrap around on me. And I'm going to come back through the center, through that row. So I've got 3 rows holding this belt loop together. You probably don't need 3. 2 would be fine. 3 seems to be a magic number for me. There. And we want to come out right down here in our corner. Right like that. Now comes the fun part. I've already put 1 loop on. Before I do that, I want to put this in. Get this one little tail out of the way. What I'm going to do is I want to come up above here where it's connected together already and just kind of weave it in back and forth so that I can feel it catching on stuff and being difficult to push through. That means it's going to be plenty firm enough. There. Now I'll put this one back on my needle. See how fast these belt loops are? They really are quick. Really, really, truly. Now I want to make sure I have this placed the same distance as the other on the side. About there, I think. And I'm going to give it a little tack. Do put your finger inside, and you'll end up putting the front. Your fronts on your backs. Okay. I'm going to stand it up this way and make sure I've got it where it's supposed to be. Around the edge. Okay. You can pin this a lot more if you feel you need to. First one I did, I think I had like 10 pins in it. I wanted to make darn sure the thing was where I wanted it. Okay, now we're out here on this side. We're going to go down to the center, and straight down inside, like that. Come back up. We're doing the top row across, coming out 1 hole, going in 1 hole. Oops. Hate it when I do that. Lost my end. At least I know I'm not the only one who does it. Myself a longer tail there. Just do that back and forth. Excuse me. You really ought to stay on your own side, Charlie. There we go. Now I'm just going to do 3 rows. First I'm going to come down and do the tip. There we go. Down here. And instead of going straight across, I'm going to do a little round thing here where I come up here, go in below it, come up above, go down below, when I come up again here, I want to go through here to my other side and turn. Now I think at this point I can be pretty sure that this isn't going to come off, so I'm getting that pin totally out of there. Now it's just a matter of going down and up through these loops. I'm going to do this the easier way because I got my finger under there and it can tell if I'm missing any threads under there. Go way down and just kind of force them up. Oops. Come down here to my point. For this one I will go down in. There we go. Stay out of the way. I keep bringing this towards me so I can see what I'm doing. That doesn't help you guys very much, does it? Okay. Now again, I'm going to go across, up, and down, and up, and down. Okay. And then give it a little knot under here if I want, and I can either weave it through down here, or I can stick it back up on top. And weave it back and forth in here. It's already knotted. This is nice and thick. Not going to go anywhere. It doesn't move and stretch, so it's not going to pull it out. I have both my belt loops. And here's our finished purse with its belt loops and its belt. You could have gone with a contrasting color, either going darker or even lighter. Maybe a nice charcoal gray would look good with this. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this project. I enjoyed doing it with you. And now that you know how easy it is and that it doesn't take that long, how about making a few to hand out in this winter? Happy crafting, everyone. Here's a short PS. Out of that 7-ounce skein of yarn, I had just enough yarn left over to make these this set of hand and wrist warmers. It's supposed to take about 2 ounces, so I think I did pretty good. Happy crafting.